Penalties for missing housing targets. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here. Welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. I thought we'd have a look at this article from AAP discussing, well, penalties for missing housing targets. Now, I have been, complaining about the issues in the housing sector for some time. And my point has been we've got a disconnect from federal, state and local councils. They need to work together. I'm encouraged by the fact that Labor at a federal level is aware of that and is starting a dialogue through all levels of government. Hopefully it'll come to something. Something will come to fruition and we'll get some real movement on increasing housing supply. That's fundamentally, it's a supply and demand issue. We need to get more houses out there one way or another. It's not going to be an easy solution. But this is an interesting one. Report urges penalties for not meeting housing targets. Maybe we need to be punitive on local authorities for not getting enough housing out there. Brisbane's going to grow. It's going to grow. We need more houses. Is council facilitating that? Are they hitting their targets? Maybe there needs to be performance targets for civil servants in order to meet these approvals. So, state and territories, I want them to go lower, I want them to go to council level, could be given financial penalties for failing to meet housing targets under a proposal by business groups. Now, here's the thing. Penalties for government, that's just penalties for us. We're penalising ourselves. It needs to be the civil servants, the workers or the managers who are paid the huge salaries. They need to bear the financial risk. Civil servants paid hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why shouldn't they be fined if they don't meet their performance requirements? Isn't that fair or reasonable? They're paid for that risk and responsibility. A new report by the Business Council of Australia has recommended national housing targets should be tied to population growth forecasts. Why aren't they already? The number of times we look at stuff like this and it seems common sense. You think, of course, that would be tied to that. I'm starting to realize why people become grumpy old men. The report said the targets should then lead to actions states or territory governments could take to meet demand. Under the proposal, jurisdictions that meet housing targets would get financial incentives, while those that don't would be penalised for failing to meet it. Just tie the amount of GST revenue each state gets to their ability to provide housing for their people. What do you reckon? This will provide a direct link with specific incentives and penalties between the forecast growth of the nation, which is in part controlled by federal government, and the net additional dwelling targets set by states and territories, the report said. This should then take into consideration both greenfield and infill development. The report also recommended that process for land rezoning and approval for new housing projects should be sped up, as well as a stronger alignment between new housing projects and infrastructure. I mean, this is all well and good and easy to say, and it all makes incredible sense. Nothing here is revolutionary or shocking. I mean, it could just be that you've got people removed from reality. This is the bureaucratic malaise that goes over people. You know, it's just a different world. It's all good. She'll be right. We'll still get that pay rise every year. There are simply not enough new homes being built to meet demand at a time when housing affordability is declining, she said. In fact, new housing supply has been falling over the last half-decade. There needs to be a clear path for building new homes and infrastructure that is aligned with the growth in Australia's population. The report coincides with Treasurer Jim Chalmers indicating he was willing to work with states and territories to boost housing funding. The federal government's signature $10 billion housing fund remains stuck in Parliament, with the Greens and Coalition not backing the proposal to build 30,000 new social and affordable homes over 5 years. Okay, this is kind of bullshit because that $10 billion is the money they're investing, and they're going to reap the rewards of it. And when you count how much money they get from essentially the dividend payments from gambling that money, it's only about 80 grand a house. The mathematics doesn't add up. They're not going to get the 30,000 new social housing. the guaranteed minimum that the government have committed to provide to get it through certain senators is about 20 houses a month per state. 20. Nothing. Oh, this is a mess. There we go. Guarantees of 1,200 homes for each state and territory have been secured. The Greens want a rent freeze and more immediate investment to solve housing shortages. A rent freeze. Okay. I guess we're going to learn this the hard way. It's going to get so messy. Housing is not going to get cheaper at all. Don't kid yourself. If you're there thinking, oh, we're going to have mass unemployment, the recession's going to come, housing's going to crash down, it's not going to happen, guys. Australia's just going to divide into a two-class society. There's going to be the property-owning class, and there's going to be the renting class. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be exacerbated by all of this bullshit. Don't kid yourself. The Treasurer said the government wanted to boost housing supply, but was also open to negotiating with state and territory governments on possible extensions of funding. Obviously, I'm not going to preempt the conditions that we have with the states and territories or to nominate a number. We've indicated that we will be extending it, will work in the usual collaborative and cooperative way, he told the ABC's Insider program on Sunday. Greens housing spokesman Max Chandler Mather. I don't know, why didn't they've got an architect there? Why isn't she the housing spokesman? Just wondering. Said, while it was a positive sign, the Treasurer would look to boost funding to state and territories. A rent freeze was still needed. Now, my criticism of this constant Green call for a rent freeze is based on the precedent of what happened in Ireland and through every other place where they've tried to control the price of goods or services and rents. It never works out. It disincentivizes investment in that sector, reducing supply, often results in a black market with illegally higher rents, and people exiting the market, so less supply. We're going to learn the hard way. We're going to have to learn the hard way. Labor's housing bill doesn't guarantee a cent in funding for public and affordable housing and does nothing for renters in the middle of the worst housing crisis we've seen in a generation. Well, if you want to make housing cheaper, well, let's talk about a few suggestions, everyone. So, interesting approach to penalize the states and to tie it to funding. I'd take it right down to the individual council workers. I put KPIs for approvals that need to be pushed through. I would honestly argue that we need to increase supply and we need to reduce onerous conditions. Put a pause on any new changes to the National Construction Code that are going to increase the cost of housing for the next decade. And look at what we can pull back to make it cheaper to build housing. I mean, you need to look at what people were living in the 70s, 60s, and 50s, what they were building. They were perfectly fine houses. They didn't have all the luxury that we have today. That's one of the reasons why, when they're doing the whole CPI calculations, they'll say, well, your house costs more, but you've got this extra bedroom, and you've got this and this and this. You've got insulation here, so it's a better product for a higher cost. So it's kind of equivalent. Kind of. I'm frustrated, guys. This is just getting frustrating. I can't see a correction to this. Even their attempts to correct it are going to mess it up. They need to make it easier to get supply and to build. What do you reckon? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Thanks for watching. Check out Heise BIM and Heise Does. I even put up a video today. And if you want to support us, you can on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.